Hello. Hi, we are here representing the Lecturers Without Borders. This is Nasia and Liubov speaking. I am a researcher in planetary science per profession, and I'm also a part of the co-founders of this NGO. The other is with me. This is Liuba Tupikina, and she will present herself in 2 seconds. Yeah, we're here. We're very happy that you invited us, and we're happy to actually give you an overview of what we do and how you can help if you are finding it interesting, which I guess you do by the invitation. So please, Liuba, go on, and that's you can start talking about the project.
Great. So my name is Liubov. I am a mathematician by training. I work in France, and together with Nasia, with Mikhail, with Anastasia, and with Delphine, we work on this project together with scientists around the globe. So how does Lecturers Without Borders work actually? It works very simply. Here you see on the schema the way how we organize lectures, right? The lectures is something which we organize in schools, universities around the globe for scientists. So the first initial step to do that actually is to share the travel plans with us. So after that, we try to find your school or the university. Then if we find the available school to host you or the university, we connect you, and then you are able to make a lecture there or make maybe a summer school or a workshop. So it actually looks very simple. And we wanted to share with you some of our experience in this journey of organizing the Lectures for Lecturers Without Borders. So we actually never met offline all together because we are really spread around the globe, as you see in our map. And Lectures Without Borders is actually it's a network which spans together different countries and researchers from different countries and educators with different countries from India, Germany, Argentina, and full list you can see on our website, which is this one. And you also can subscribe to Lectures Without Borders in order to either to make a lecture or to host a lecture. So this is the initial thing which you can, how you can contribute and how you can, get in touch with this project. So I just explain how does it work, right? About schools which are connected with us, we from 2019 and 2020, we significantly increased the number of schools in our databases with whom we work or partner, and now this number has reached around 8,000 schools in more than 30 countries around the globe, and we are really open for collaborations. We have partners in Asia, in Europe, in Caucasian region, in Africa, in South America, and more again you can find in our website. We also provide help for lecturers who are making lectures. So these lecturers, they either can be professionals who already gave a lot of lectures, right? And then they almost don't need help on how to give a lecture, but we also provide technical or content related help kits for scientists. And this help kits includes basically the guidances for how to make lecture, to give it online, right, or on-site lectures, because there are different ways of doing that. Our scientists also, they come from different disciplines. They are from mathematics, from physics, biology, linguistics, neuroscience, climatology, planetary science. There were also recent lectures about open science, about how to make some microscopic projects. So it's really very diverse, and also diverse in terms of how people organize lectures. So they actually, when they make a journey, when scientists are traveling, and scientists usually are traveling a lot. So basically, usually scientists are really open for connecting to local initiatives, and then we can actually suggest them different varieties of styles, right, of lectures making. It can be either small seminar, or it can be even hands-on session, or it can be meeting with some professors or giving a lecture in the university. Our Lectures Without Borders advisory board also is really diverse. We have professors from France, from Africa, from Spain, from Uruguay, and they all are also listed on our website. The number of lecturers every year has been increasing, and now after COVID related thing, of course, we need to overthink how we are organizing this. But basically statistics you can see here that different lectures and different number of webinars are also increasing, and number of people who are involved in that also increasing significantly from 2017 when we co-founded it. We also try to understand where actually scientists are traveling and how they are traveling, right? Where they are traveling and where we could actually connect them to local initiatives. Here we started a project on the platform called Open Humans, where we actually gather and analyze this information. So pre-COVID era, the last scientists, not last, before the confinement introduced, were scientists who were traveling from different countries in the conference, which was organized in Kenya. And more information about lectures we organized in other countries with lecturers from around the globe, you can also find on our website. And here I will give a word to Nasia, who will actually tell you more about the post-COVID era of lectures and what we think about it, what we know, what we would like to share with you.
Great. Yeah, so I take it from here. Thanks, Liuba, for the introduction to the project. Actually, in order to understand the post-COVID area, we need to step a bit back and talk to you a bit more about our motivation, right? Mm-hmm. Personally, I am a physicist, and as you heard from Liuba, we have diverse backgrounds. So people are coming from mostly STEM disciplines, science, technology, mathematics, and I don't remember the E right now. Liuba, do you remember what E stands for? STEM.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm temporarily stuck.
It's
engineering.
Engineering, yes.
Right? Okay,
yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have more of this background. We also have some linguists and neuroscientists, so we expand our, let's say, range of disciplines. All of us, or most of us, need to travel a lot, and that's how we came up with this idea. The fact that the scientists themselves have a lot of mobility, which is incorporated into their everyday life. So within a year, a typical scientist can travel to a lot of conferences, has to travel to at least a conference. Most of them are international. Some can be more local, or they have to travel also for personal reasons. And that's what Liuba also showed you. We try to understand where they go and where where the mobility is taking place. But in principle, all of the scientists need to work. And the reason is to talk to conferences primarily. Secondarily is to join working groups, so they go and they do research on a specific place, or for personal reasons to visit a family if they're living in another country, which is very often the case. So this was actually the opportunity. We wanted to connect this to the schools that are nearby their target destination, and have them also give something back to the community. And there was a lot of enthusiasm from the community of the researchers already. That's why we have volunteers which are registered. So yeah, we can look at the next slide, looking on the shifts in the mobility. So here we thought, okay, after the COVID era, we need to see what changed. And actually the first thing that changed is the flight frequency. So what I plotted here, I present you some data which are available. I mean, all the links are going to be available at the end of the presentation for you to look and reproduce. And on the left side of the slide, you can see the number of the commercial flights as they're tracked by a very famous website. That's the Flight Radar 24. And you see that as of 9th of April, they had dropped by 75% of their normal volume of flights. This concerns flights across the globe, international flights, domestic for countries. So you see that there is a big drop, which means that okay, this is one means of transportation that has been diminished, but there could be trains and other ones. However, for international travels, flights are prevailing. So this shows there is a big impact on the mobility, which is international, which is happening internationally. Also on the right side, you can see a table with relative mobility changes. These are data which are taken by Google. Actually, Google anonymizes data. And in that table, we plotted, we added some of the data that concern the visitability, if we could put it this way, of specific locations. So there is a category of locations which are the transit stations. These are the airports, the train stations, the bus hubs, and you see some representative countries. We just took a sample of those which we have already made lectures so that we can be relevant, but this report actually exists for almost every country in the world. And you see that there is a relative, it's a relative drop compared to the baseline, so let's say the usual traffic on these places by 75% or 54%. This is enormous numbers. This means that the people have stopped moving a lot to commute. But also, if you see the next column, the one of the residents, you see that the people have increased the time they spend in the house, but not so much, right? Because this is also explained. This is also explained by the fact that they have to go around and do the regular shopping of the house, or maybe walk their dog, or or their pet. So there are a lot of reasons that people have been constrained at home, but in principle they don't spend so much more time at home. We can go to the next slide, and this is actually now the next slide is about the shifts in mobility as a matter of projection. So we didn't do this ourselves, but this is a report that is used by an aviation consultancy. So what they do in this plot, they try to project when the flights are going to be resumed by analogy to what China did. And they use China because it has been the first country that has been affected by the virus, the first that imposed restriction measures, and the first that recovered. So it's just a matter of sequence. Of course, this doesn't apply to all the countries, so it is just the most informed view we can have for now, because every country has different policy, and this is decided at the governmental level. So what you see here with the red lines is the cases for China. So the curve, the red curve, you see that it drops starting counting from the day where the 100th case of COVID was confirmed. So that's our time zero. And then we see the mobility. So like basically we see the flights that dropped, and they dropped by 75%, both the international, which are represented by the dashed line, both the solid line, which represents the domestic. All flights, of course, decreased. But then what you can see from this, this graph here, that is the, let's say the shaded area, the red shaded area at the bottom, this shows how many, let's say, new cases are discovered per day. So of course you discover more and this thing goes up, this curve, but then at some point it stabilizes, which means they don't discover new cases, they stay the same. So from that point onwards, the flights picked up. So they started increasing the domestic flights, and now they are at about 50% of what was initially. It's an improvement compared to the 75. But in order for this to happen, as a crucial point, you see, you need to stop discovering new cases. And if you compare what happens in Europe, which is now the blue case on this graph, you see that we are far from having a flat curve, right? So we are still discovering new cases every day. This has been, I think this has been confirmed until the 9th of April, that plot, like the 9th or 5th of April, we are still discovering new cases. So even if you update this plot, we are very far from stabilizing the situation. Therefore, the recovery of the flights in Europe will happen much later. And by analogy, you can take this for the whole world and the US. So let's move a bit further to see what was another aspect of response. That was now the educational response to the COVID. Of course, the schools, it's known to most of you, have been ordered to close by the government so that they stop the spread of the virus. And here you see some the sequence in which the schools shut down, starting from mid-February to mid of March. No, actually until the end of April I have here. until the middle of April, sorry. You see, of course, the first country to stop was China, and then the others followed, and the different colors that are on the graph represent, the magenta represents the magenta represents localized schools, which means that in a country not all schools closed, but once it becomes purple, it means that across all the country, no school was working. So this is a global situation, and it puts us in the position where our host schools, that was the case before, are not available anymore for visits. And the same holds for the researchers, as you saw in the previous slide, they are not able to travel anymore. At least that's the status now. Can take a look at the last slide. I think that's the last with the data. Thank you. Thanks, Liuba. So here, what you can see is that the response of the system was basically to increase the online education, which is expected, right? It's the most fast way to keep the kids up to school with their curriculum. And most of us have access to the internet. That's actually another issue for some countries. But in principle, there was increase in the online education. However, in order to keep the attention and to attract the attention of adolescents, so students below 18, it becomes a bit challenging. And here there is one interesting excerpt from a student in the US, Daniel Gonzalez Rosas. He's 17 years old, and he mentioned that most of the teenagers are under the impression that school is optional, given the circumstances we're in. Right? So that's interesting, because for the psychology of the students, other things matter. So for them, the fact that they can do school from home immediately makes it less important. And of course, it can make sense up to a limit, because they have a lot of things to do in the day, a lot of priorities. It could be that their parents are working at the same time. It could be that they are more distracted, and they don't have a very well-defined classroom anymore. It mixes with their personal space. And of course, that's one of the new realities that we all have to think about when we do what we do. So when we look at what we can do together, we want to adapt what we were doing before to the new data, to the new situation. And of course, one of the things that we started and we encourage our members to do is to develop online lectures in order to substitute for the on-site, if I could call it offline, or on-site lectures that we used to do before. And that's a very good exercise also for the lecturers, so that they can find out how to be more engaging with their audience. And of course, there are more issues that we try to progress in our project. So another one is actually how to coordinate in every country or in every continent, if we start taking it from a local point of view. We are also ready to start webinars. We already realized one last week. I mean, now we're recording this, I guess, a little bit earlier than your conference. So we did that on the 10th of April, this webinar, and we're organizing even more, where we crowdsource the needs of our community. So how the schools would like to get input from us. This is one thing that we try to learn more, and we're open to suggestions also from you, from your experience. And at the same time, we try to help our registered researchers become better in science communication. So we also invite lecturers and invite experts on this and try to put together the ideas. We are open to ideas. It's a pity this lecture cannot be interactive right ahead. So in any case, we can always stay in touch. And that's something that we have a lot of different venues to do. We can do this by traditional email, and we can do this by Slack platforms. You just have to write to us, and we're going to include you in the group where a lot of projects take place, and you can choose which one is interesting for you and then join this. We have, of course, our Facebook page, our website, and our Twitter handle. These are all going to be given at the end of the presentation. And we also have a GitHub for all the data that we use. And of course, we're always using data, keeping in mind the GDPR rules for anonymity and personal data safety. So I guess that's from us for now. Luba, you're still here, I think. No.
Yes, I'm here. And here there are also indeed also some links and some of our partners whom we list here, but of course there are more. And all of them, including Professors Without Borders, are listed on the website. And we are really looking for collaborations and very open for that. So we would like to, with this, to thank you and write and connect to us. We are all very open with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I stop recording. Stop recording. Okay. Yes, this I should. Yeah, I stopped recording. Yes. Okay.
It still says it records, by the way.
Wait, your screen is paused. Your screen is paused. Wait. Wait. Okay.